to do, the pump must be able to run freely.
Then before we start,
That is before you start. So the pump runs freely. Okay? You haven't stripped it, you haven't done anything. First thing first, you need to check, because by the time you finish, this pump must be able to do this as well. That is when you finish. So now you are testing if that pump, whoever did it before, done the right job. And you are not getting any marks for this. The only time you're going to get the mark for this is when it is now your turn to assemble it. After you have assembled it, the criteria says you must then check if the pump is running freely. Okay? So now that the pump is running freely, we can then strip our pump. And my advice is, make sure that if you are working on the table, or you are working in this table, have nothing on the table besides your earbuds and your tools, so that you know whatever you are taking from this side, stay there. Whatever you are taking from that, stay there, and stay there. Everything is clear. Okay? So now what I'm doing is I am opening my pump. And if you're taking a note, at this point, everything is hand tightened. Okay? Everything is hand tightened. So it means that this pump was turning freely with the hand tightened. The moment you introduce the spanner, then things might change. So it's important that you keep it as it is. There is a point in terms of criteria that says, was the pump turning freely before the gland packing was installed? That means the moment you install the gland packing, then it might have problems in terms of turning, because your gland packing will keep the pump or the shaft fast. Okay? So what is also important is you need to know your parts. You need to know all your parts in terms of your pump, and you need to know your calculations. So the assessor might ask you to, remember, you record all your calculations, you record all your parts, but the assessor might then ask you to prove everything that you have done. Might ask you to measure the inside diameter of the impeller, might ask you to measure the inside casing. So you need to know that one of the problems that I've came around, or I've came to experience, is that some of the candidates, they memorize the parts, they memorize the numbers, because since you're training with this pump, you're going to test with the same pump. Might not be exactly the same one, but it's going to be the same size, meaning everything will be the same. But now, even though everything is the same, you need to know exactly what is it that you are measuring, because the assessor will ask you, measure that, measure this, how do you get the packing sizes? Those things you must know. Okay? So this is my casing, and this is my impeller. I must say, we have a solid pump as compared to what I've been going through. As you are noticing that while I'm stripping it, everything is, whatever I'm taking off, I'm making sure, even if I don't remember when I have to put it back, but everything is in the clear, and I'm not mixing anything. I've got the bolts, the 4 bolts that I've taken off on one side. I've got the hexagon bolts that I've taken, they are about 2, 4, 6, 8 on one side. Now I've started stripping the impeller. The impeller is on one side, so that even if I tend to forget what is it or what goes where. At least everything must be in its own place. Okay. And when it comes to installing your packing, you do not install your packing as if you are installing a rope. So your packing is being cut into a specific length. So that specific length, you are cutting it so that you are able to install it in a way that your water won't pass through. Okay? For instance, when you are installing, you have to install it at a, it's either 90 degrees or 180 degrees away from each other. For what I mean is, if it is like that, so that is on top. The next one that you install, it needs to be at the bottom. If it's not at the bottom, then it must be 90 degrees. So this is your 45 degrees, this is your 90 degrees, like that, and that is your 180 degrees away. So when your shaft is running, the water might pass in this gap here, but it won't pass through the second one. It might find a way to pass through the second one, but it won't pass through the third one. Reason being, it's because we have installed it in a correct manner. Okay? So the assessor might ask you to prove or to install it in front of him, and if you don't know how to install it, that will be a fail as well. So you cannot by any chance install it like this. And also, you buy or you get a packing in this form, and you need to cut it. So you cannot install it like this and wrap this onto the shaft. If you do that, that means you will have this gap that will be causing the leakage in your pump, and that is something that we do not want when your pump is running. We want the leakage that we can control. So that is my blend packing, and I have taken it out of the case. Okay. Please make sure you know all your parts. Make sure you know all your parts. So the circlip, you don't have to take it out completely. The circlip stays within your shaft, okay? And as you can see, we are not knocking anything here. We're not knocking nothing. I'm not expecting any knocks by the time you are finished or while you are busy installing it. We've been using this shaft, or they've been using the shaft since 2019. It's not gonna suffer now because of us. So, here you've got, it's broken. This sleeve, what it does is it stops the water from going into the casing. When there is water running out or escaping from the impeller, it stops it from going into the casing. supposed to be outside, not inside. So you've got your two bearings and your shaft. What you're going to do is you're not going to take it out. Here is your shaft, here is your bearing. Everything is already in. However, if you decide to take it out, no, we're not going to take it out, because taking it out, it means that we might have to replace these bearings and we might have to turn a new shaft. So we're avoiding that, because sometimes you might press it and it might get stuck. It means we need to make a way. So what you're going to do is you have your shaft. Once now you are at this stage, everything is clear, everything is out. Only here, then you start labeling what you have. Okay? I think I've got Ryan. I think I took Ryan's thing. Okay. No, this is not Ryan. There is a bearing cover. So maybe you say these are bearing covers, but you cannot say these are bearing covers. So let's say you've got your two flanges, right? And then you can put in brackets bearing covers. But you've got your two flanges, and then you've got your shaft, you've got your bearing. You need to write both numbers of your bearing because you've got two bearings. You've got the circlip plier, you've got the circlip, you've got the circlip pliers, you write all your tools as well. You've got the key, feather key, you've got the pump casing, you've got the backing, you've got the Latin ring. I don't know which one is the Latin ring. So I'm not sure if this is a slinger or it's a Latin ring. I'm not sure which one is that one. And you've got the gland follower, which will then be assuming what you looking for.
I'm moving him up, he's sleeping.
Okay, so and then you've got your impeller. This is what does the work. This is what transports water. So what it does is it just shoots out water with these grooves. It shoots out water with this groove. You might assume that it goes this way. It doesn't go this way. If it was to go this way, the water will then be going inside. But now it goes the other way. Then it shoots out water. That's your impeller. So once you've done labeling, then you can do your sizes. So you've got him for labeling, and then you've got him for sizes. In terms of your sizes, I'm expecting you to do your sizes with telescopic and mic. The vernier you will do with the vernier when the assessor is around. The assessor might ask you to use the vernier, but I want you to use the mic so that you get every time the same thing. With the vernier, you're not going to get every time the same thing because sometimes with the vernier, it depends on how hard you press. But with the mic, you know that you have the ratchet. Are we clear? Any questions? Please, any questions?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Do you put the pump back together before putting the assessor? First open and call and measure and call the assessor? Or
No, what you do is you open your pump, you take your parts, label them, and then you take your measurement. Then, before you close it, you call the assessor. The assessor must come and must check if everything is out. Okay? Because if you open it and close it, there is no proof that you have done it. So now it becomes the proof that you have done it. You have opened it. So you open it, and then you take your parts, all of them down, and then you start measuring. When the assessor comes, the assessor might then ask you to re-measure. And the assessor might ask you to re-measure. And you have or you are obligated to remeasure when the assessor asks you to do it. Any other question? Okay. So they say measure the suction ID. That's your first question. Measure the suction ID. Now, this is your suction ID. Okay? So your suction ID is here. And with the vernier you cannot get. With the vernier you can't get there. So that means that's where the telescopic gauges come in handy. So we must not gonna be teaching each other how to use the telescopic now.
Yeah.
We passed that stage. There's no mic here, there's no, oh, there's a mic. There's no vernier though. Okay.
You're gonna put you on YouTube, so
Hmm?
you're gonna put you on YouTube.
Then we fight.
Yeah, you can post a lot of views and then there's money coming.
We fight.
But the posting,
My English is not English anymore. Okay, so the size that I have here it's 74.93. So that's the size I'm getting at this point. And you know that you have measured at 12 o'clock, right? So that is now 6 to 12. This is 6 to 12. That's your first measurement. That is 6, that's 12, 6. Then if you want to see if it is not over, then you measure at 9 and 3.
it's the clock.
What's wrong?
Man, it's the clock.
Yeah, I understand it now. I look away 1 minute, 6 to 3 to 9.
You get it now. Okay, so you measure. So you first measure that is 6 and 12. That's 12 o'clock. And then you have to measure 9 o'clock. That's it. So that you know your size stays constant. Right? So this will tell me if we are out. Yeah. So the first size was 74.93 meters. Now the 9 and 3, that is now 75.01. That's the size, millimeters. So what you're going to do is, can you see now your this is the inner casing. Your suction side of your casing, it is now over, right? When you measure or whatever you are writing here, because you're gonna write both sizes here. Eric, you also come stand somewhere. So when you measure or when you record your information, you're not gonna record both of them, okay? What you're going to do is going to take one, and when the assessor comes to recheck, then you tell the assessor that you have worked from 12 o'clock or you have worked from 9 o'clock. That's it. So they can get exactly the same reading. That's why we want to use the mic. Because with the mic, the ratchet will then get everyone to get the same thing. That's your casing. And then they also say, number 2, the casing side ID. So the casing side ID would be that now. So this is your casing. No, it's not the impeller here. This is the impeller. Ne?
But isn't that
No, so I think they're confusing what is internet and so they thought when you have measured the inside casing on this side,
Okay.
so you have to measure the impeller. But I think we did discuss it. I think it was later.
Yeah.
Because I told you that that's an impeller. So that the second question, you cannot be taking the measurements from the
So they're not saying anything regarding the impeller yet, right? They first said measure the inside casing, ne? The suction side, ID, and that's what you measured. Okay.
Yep. What is wrong there is that